KUAM Digital.
824. Let's get the Legislative Health Committee Chair, Senator Therese Terlaje, onto the show here. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Chris, Sabrina.
Good morning. Well, not a good night for you, huh?
Oh, well.
You got the big fat veto.
Twice.
Two big fat vetoes.
Were you surprised, or were you anticipating it? I mean, weren't both bills passed unanimously?
They were both passed unanimously, and in fact, we went out of our way to make sure that these bills were not going to impede any efforts. They were only going to, enhance any efforts, hopefully, and really, they were mostly focused on transparency, accountability. That's what we wanted. And the governor says, don't worry, we're going to report this because federal requirements, but the issue is we want to know. We are the legislature. We're facing a huge drop in revenues. Mm-hmm. It's going to impact, it has already impacted every single individual on Guam. So when you put in that huge loss of, local revenues, and then this huge power that has been given under our, public health emergency law to just a very few public officials, and together with this huge influx of federal cash, unprecedented, all we were asking for in these bills was that the administration would report to us, show us the agreements that they're signing with the federal government on a timely basis, show us the expenditures that they are making with this federal money. Pretty much that it's reporting, and I thought we actually had in one of the bills lifted, any local restrictions that might impede very prompt action. Mm-hmm. And I know you guys are doing a very good job on your program talking about how the people of Guam are suffering, and so it's been this way for weeks now. One of these bills was drafted when after weeks of the government not having procured essential supplies for our frontline healthcare workers. That was really one of the biggest driving forces of Bill 336. It was allowing extra transfer authority because, in the beginning we talked to everyone. They said, "Oh, don't worry, we're going to get all these things." Then weeks went by and we didn't get those things, and we had nurses calling us, crying about why are they limiting us with PPE? They're making it sound like they don't have enough, and that actually was the case for a while. We did not have enough ventilators to match the projection of our needs by the health officials, by the health experts. We did not have the amount of test kits that every government is aggressively, trying to get. And so all those, they were crucial items, and, we started to hear, because of the limited funds that we have, we can't buy them in bulk, different reasons. Mm-hmm. And I think the legislature, acted unanimously because we wanted to make sure that money was not going to be the excuse we were given that the items could not be procured, and so we pretty much, tried to open those channels, and that we tried to direct that, that the priorities would be those healthcare supplies, housing for nurses that are, don't want to go home and possibly infect their families, housing for COVID-exposed homeless. That, at that point, none of that had taken place. None of those supplies were here, and none of those services were provided.
Well, we're still waiting on the homeless plan.
Yes, we are, and and I've been hearing the talk about it, being a tent city. I don't know. What I'm really hoping that, and the other bill was pretty much, we had not, and we still have not received the plan of how they're going to spend this federal money, the $118 million, unprecedented, right, federal money. And again, it might be, the bulk of the money we're going to get this year. I mean, compared to our revenues, right? So how we spend this, it's going to have long-lasting effects. If we have to be very wise right now. But we have not, we as senators, we've not seen the plan of how we're going to spend all that money. What would the priorities be? And what I want to know is, how is this going to better us going forward, as opposed to, just temporary measures I would hope that we can use this money, in a very wise way, because it's going to have to last us a long time. I mean, some of these fixes, for example, what are we going to do in the hospital that we are going to ensure that we have capacity going forward? Mm-hmm. For sure, right? And so I'm just hoping they use it, to make some more permanent type improvements that we're going to use. And we all know people are losing health insurance, or they've lost health insurance when they were laid off. So many factors that are, affecting all of us.
Well, because these bills were passed unanimously, what have you talked to your colleagues?
Yeah, because
given you any feedback, or they just as
well? We got this veto message. I got it when the media sent it out, 8:30 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Typical.
And I found out later it was delivered to the legislature earlier than that I was not made aware. So, but so when I did see it, I haven't had a chance to talk to my colleagues yet. I'm sure we're going to be talking today because of the different veto messages, and there's still some pending efforts. For example, we're waiting anxiously to move forward with the ability to have public hearings. I've been asking for this for quite a while, because I think this is where we're at. We are unable to have, to hold anyone accountable.
It's crazy, Senator. It's crazy.
Yeah,
you guys are a whole branch of government who is supposed to be a check and balance on the executive branch, and you guys have been effectively sidelined.
Well, we're not, but definitely have not been receiving the information promptly, and which is really what I thought would be harmless. I thought if you have to, report, that's harmless. Why would anyone, not want to do that? I just feel like that is, especially now,
because it's an overreach of your legislative authority.
Well, I don't believe that at all.
I didn't say
if we're not a legislature that's going to hold the executive branch accountable, then we are useless, right? And it's not even, we're asking for reports after the money's spent. Even, we're asking for the agreements after they're signed. We're asking just for the information. We weren't even trying to
overreach.
Influence how they spend it. We would like to see that, because this impacts the FY20. It looks like we're going to have to redo the entire FY20 budget. FY21, of course, revenues are going to be looking good. So I think that's what we're there for. We're there to make it better, even, if it's not just to be critical of how they decided to do it, but hopefully if we were all working together, we could make it better. I've always found that to be my experience, is that the more you show, what you're working on, the more people can make it better. And that's why, I appreciate the public hearing process, because the ideas that come in are always geared towards making an improvement. And I just think that's what we need. We need everyone to know what's going on. If you want them to trust you, right, then don't hide anything. Let them know what we're looking at. Let them know when supplies were low, everything about it. Let them know what this money is going to be spent on. I sent a letter, a week ago or more than that, to Ed Byrne, asking, for the report or the documents that he submitted to the federal government. He said this was, I have to ask the governor, because she's the one who's going to be able to spend the money. So I don't know. It's no one here is trying to take away authority of the governor to act swiftly. I think we are trying to enhance that. But what we don't want is, we don't want, we don't want to cripple the government either, right? We have to know which agencies are not going to get any of this federal money, what services the people of Guam are not going to receive anymore, based on revenue and based on, priorities from this federal fund, so that we can act wisely as well. That's really all there is to it. Without information, it's not our best government. I think it's always our best when we share the information.
Yeah.
I wanted to see how you interpreted this. This was in the veto message for Bill 336. It says the governor vetoed this bill in the interest of statutory economy. Well, what does that mean? How do you interpret that?
I don't know. We were
Statutory
trying in
economy.
that bill. I'm not sure what those words mean, but we were trying.
Is that
That's
some
some-
legalese
that's some
there,
good-
Senator?
good
You're a lawyer,
BS.
aren't you?
Statutory
economy. What is that?
I don't know, but all we were doing in that bill is the public health emergency statute authorizes the governor specifically to transfer up to $100,000 a month. And when we were talking with their experts about the cost of these supplies that I just mentioned to you, the costs they're huge, right? And some of them they wanted to buy in bulk.
Mhm.
So we just wanted to lift that cap of $100,000 a month, which it was my understanding they had already spent, and increase it. So she's saying she doesn't need that money. She's got authority to spend other money, which is fine, which is why I'm not going to go for an override on that bill. I'm going to just ensure that they're held accountable on the funds that they have transferred for this emergency, that they are spending for this emergency, that they plan to spend from the federal funds on this emergency.
You guys aren't even aware of who's getting what contract for what or anything, are you?
No,
have no
in fact,
idea.
yeah, I'm, no, and we.
It's ridiculous.
I think it looks like we're going to have to send FOIAs. Yes.
Wow. Well, let me
I don't
know.
know.
I'm
I
good at
really
sending
don't
FOIAs.
care.
You
I
want
know
to
you guys actually,
I just sent 3 this morning.
They've sent FOIAs, they've sent questions. I've sent questions. Sometimes I get answers. Sometimes I just get a response that says received.
Mhm.
That my letter's been received. But I don't. Yeah.
Thanks.
You know what?
Yeah.
What I just feel like I don't know. I just want the people of Guam to trust the government officials, right? And I just
good
want
luck.
us to. I want us to. Well, no, Chris, I don't. I'm never going to give up on that.
Yeah.
I really feel like we just have to do it. I mean, that's why I ran for office. I want to change that perception of the government and show that we actually are very competent. There are competent individuals working in the government. We've seen this. The problem is when they get, interfered with, or when political interference. This is really a problem, and
No.
that's why it's hard for us. We can't hear directly from the medical experts fast enough. We can't hear. This is, I don't know. For me,
go ahead.
you can hide information if you want, but when we are facing this outcry from the public of, they're not trusting almost anything we say anymore. They want to know more, and I think that they're completely entitled to know everything there is, about the money, how it's going to be spent, how it already has been spent. Why wasn't it spent on certain things? All of that. All
right. Bill 326, another bill that was vetoed, again passed unanimously. What is your reaction to this? Because you said it would cost an additional $36 million just for payroll. And this is the hazardous differential pay and then the double pay also for essential employees.
Yes. Well, again, we've seen the veto message like you. There's no accompanying documents to show, how they calculated the impact. What is it that's really the issue there? We're guessing the issue was, double time versus what do they call it?
Differential?
COVID pay, the step pay. And so, it's like when we were in session, we did not have the benefit of the AG coming down and explaining all of his concerns to us. We just received a letter from him. Same thing with no fiscal input really was given on that bill. So we're operating in I don't know, unless we get more information going in this time on on another bill regarding that pay and I know that originally the intent was to make it effective back to the date when the emergency started.
Retro.
The problem was there was a conflict. There was very obviously a conflict between, prior rules and regs that allowed for double time and this type of pay. Yeah. And the double time or double pay, whatever it's called, isn't that already authorized in law? Correct. For other emergencies, the rules say that they're supposed to use they're entitled to double pay. Either,
Okay.
yeah,
So the new
either-
part of this was that the governor's
Sliding
hazardous,
scale.
yeah, sliding.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say. The sliding scale differential pay, the COVID-19,
Correct. And so the question was, does that get added on top, or does
the
that,
double.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
or is that the exclusive type of pay for these employees?
How do you regroup after this, Senator? I mean, you're asking for such basic, information. You're not, asking for anything classified. You're not asking for anything that's in draft form. But I think that this is not just a rejection of your measures, but these measures were unanimously passed. So I kind of view it as a rejection of the legislature overall. So how are you going to make those renewed calls for more transparency that are being echoed by the mayors, that are being echoed by the people of Guam, that are being echoed by the media? So you're not alone in this, and we're just wondering, how do you regroup after this?
Well, I think even without talking to the other senators, that just having spoken with them before, I feel very confident that all of them want increased transparency. All of them know the demands of the public for increased transparency, and all of them who are supposed to be decision makers, take it very serious. We don't want to make decisions in the dark. That's silly, really. And so I just think the sooner the better. Otherwise, we're sitting around while people suffer. And I just think the more the information shared, the faster it's shared. This is what we are called to do in public service. It's that. I think, we need to, at this point, it's very clear to me, trust is a very huge factor in how we are going to move forward. Opening, not opening, in putting on additional measure, whatever we are going to do moving forward, our revenues are going to be down. So we're operating in a whole new world here, and trust is huge. It was huge in the beginning, and I really believe they had that, but I don't understand this
Blew it.
We're
Blew
not going to share the information. I think that's a I know everyone. I'm going to give credit. People are working very hard. I just think that's just an error that they think they need to hide information or show it to us only, after everything's all done, and all we're
It's
really
too late to
be
stop
doing is
anything.
accounting to the feds.
Right,
Yes,
yeah.
because it's not the feds who hired these employees in the government of Guam. It's not the feds who determined, what the government of Guam agencies are going to do. It's not the feds who determine, what the services we, the people of Guam, need, or, what we're going to provide for them. That's all, has to be done locally. We have to work together in this. We have to provide the services that we know at this point, or we should know, or, I think we're hiding under, what's that saying, hiding under the leaves, if we don't know that people are going to suffer for quite a while. Yeah. That even this stimulus, $1,200,
it's already gone,
going
Senator.
to go very far.
Yeah.
I think you've been saying that on the radio, Chris, but, and I know, it's really, I can hear it in your voice, your media, and maybe, this is, we're all experiencing this for the first time. The world is experiencing this. We watch other states, how they do it. I watch how they get very aggressive on getting supplies, and I admire that, and I admire how some of these leaders, I think that's the key to building the trust. They're willing to lay everything out.
Right. And they are, and I think that we're only made more aware of how governments can and maybe should respond with transparency, because real time all over the world they're still fighting this thing. And I just got to say that I know that transparency was one of the key tenets of the Lou and Josh campaign, and I just want to go back to that.
Well, it's not too late. I'm just going to say again that I'm not going to give up on that. I'm going to, I think we've got so much work to do in addition to this federal money, ensuring that it actually does as much as it can do for as long as possible, for some real, systematic changes on Guam. I'm hoping for, especially in healthcare, right? That
Yeah.
we are ready. We are always ready from now on. That's what I'm hoping we're going to get out of this money, and that the people suffering, that they're going to get some relief as fast as possible. Those are my two priorities, and of course, there's so many other things that we have to do just to build up an economy. But really, those two things. It's the suffering on an individual, by families. And not just from isolating ourselves. That was our first problem, right? We were not used to isolating, but now it's gone so far way beyond that. It's now a matter of, really how you feed people, how you give them very basic needs, and how we build our healthcare system so that we go forward without worrying that more people are going to die.
I think
you're right. We've got to get ready for what might come in the fall.
We're so lucky. We're so lucky that our healthcare system with GMH, and you've passed bills, you've tried to throw money at the problems at the hospital. But I just feel like we're so lucky we dodged the biggest bullet with this COVID-19. And I mean, there's still firing shots from the gun, you know what I mean? But I would hate...
What did Dr. Cabrera say? He said there are 0 COVID-positive patients right now at the
GMH. Right.
I mean, that could change.
I would just hate to see that after all this COVID, after we got that $119 million, that, when everything's back to whatever normal is going to be, that you're going to go to the hospital and there's still going to be a broken elevator, there's still going to be a roof leaking, there's still going to be the electronic whatever, I mean, it just would be a damn shame.
Exactly. And I think, same thing with health insurance, right? If we already know and we can predict how many people have lost health insurance, we know for at least the next, 1 or 2 fiscal years, this is a huge shift, and it's going to be a huge burden on our hospital systems. And so in addition to COVID, that loss of health insurance for all other types of disease, it's huge. And I think some of the clinics, they call me that this is some of the problems that they're facing right now. They've got people who have just been dropped off of health insurance and are not seeking the care that they need. I also, I've also, I think I was on your show before talking about how I've been also asking them to make a shift in our government, and, when we release the refunds, tax refunds. Yeah. And I just think, I don't know, to me it makes perfect sense, and I know to many other senators they've also been making the same call, but I don't even think we need any more legislation to pay the rest of the 2019 refunds that have been filed and have been processed. I mean, I'm so impressed by Revenue and Tax. They've processed these things, and so we're not waiting as much on the processing as we are just waiting on the payment. Right. So I want to make sure that when we readjust our budget going forward, or tomorrow, hopefully, right, immediately. These things need to be done as soon as possible.
Yesterday.
That we account for all the 2019 tax refunds, that those get paid out before we crash. I mean, I don't know what the revenues have in store. We're looking at the predictions, and they actually look much better than I expected. So I hope those are correct. But if we plan for the worst, then I just feel like we need to get those refunds out so that people get their own money back, and then we deal with the rest on our, ourselves. But so we're very much looking. We're supposed to be starting up virtual hearings next week. I'm hoping we can, get that approved in the Committee on Rules this week. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I think it's going to be difficult to do virtual hearings, but this whole experience has taught us to be very flexible, right? We've got to shift everyone, and we've got to be patient with each other while we make all these shifts. But it's also at a very fast pace. We can't afford to wait around. We have to. I think if senators need to be in the know, and the public needs to be in the know, because it's the public who's, they're the ones carrying the burden for us.
I mean, we're the ones that are walking around with loaded guns, as a metaphor, And Senator, I just want to go back to they don't want to give you the information. There's no transparency. The local assistance. Each one of us is going to be heading into the election, whatever election we're going to have, and people are going to carry this with them into the voting booth, and I think that there's going to be some mass casualties at the Guam legislature. Sorry for all the dark metaphors. Sorry.
Well, I don't know.
I've been talking to Dr. Cabrera too much.
It's very hard to talk about elections at this time.
I know.
And, for me, but I know, for the public, sure. I mean, that's probably how this all translates, right? But for me, we still have time. You know, it's just a matter of, you know, we're trying to make things faster, more efficient. We're trying to allow the flex of employees, the redirection of employees and resources so that we can get those tax refunds out faster, so that we can, there's no impediment to the unemployment rules, that there's no local impediment to the payment of those stimulus funds. And you know, Guam, we have a unique circumstances, so yeah, I don't think, and neither of these bills would have created an impediment except for reporting. And even after the fact reporting, right? And so if you find that to be an impediment, I don't know what to say. But for me, that was absolutely not an impediment. It's actually good government, and that's what we're asking for.
Okay,
just
Senator.
Better government.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
You too.
All
Thanks for
right.
all your work. Appreciate
Thank
it very
you.
much. Take care.
Good luck. Keep us posted.
Will do. Yes, thanks.
And wash your hands.
Take care.
Okay, there you go. Senator Therese Terlaje, the Legislative Health Committee Chair.
It's like the leader of the Justice League. You know, like the Justice
Trustus
League.
League.
The Justice League.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the pure motive. She wants the people to trust the
Transparency.
government